Hello and welcome to this course. In this course, we will learn how to create this text animation in Adobe After Effects. At first, we will start with creating a simple text and then we will add depth into it. Then we slowly start to make our animation interesting by adding effects into it. This is an intermediate to advanced course. You must have at least a basic knowledge about After Effects. For the class project, the students will animate their name or favorite word. Once again, welcome, let's start. Alright, so we are inside of Adobe After Effects and in this video we are going to create and animate our text. So let's click on new composition and I'm going to call it main. And we are going to work on a standard 9020 by 1080 pixels and also we are going to work on 24 frames per second. And 10-second duration is fine. So I am going to press Ctrl+Y to create a solid layer and I'm going to call it background and let's hit OK. Now I'm using VFX console in order to add effects. So I will add a gradient ramp effect. Now I'm going to change its color to a bluish color. Something like this should be fine. And also I'm going to change the second color to black and let's change the ramp shape to radial and now let's adjust the starter points. So now let's add a text. So I'm going towards my type tool and I'm going to write the word Skillshare. And then by going towards the line tab, I will align it to the middle. Now in order to animate it, I'm going towards the animate section and then I will click on enable per character 3D. So in that way we can animate a 3D text. And also I'm going to add a position for my text. Now by moving the Z value, we can move our text towards our canvas. So I'm going to type -4000 and now if I go towards the range selector 1, I can animate it by using the offset value. So I am going to set a keyframe and then in 5 seconds I'm going to change the offset to -100. But as you see, the text doesn't look really interesting. So to make it more interesting, we can go towards the Advanced tab and we can change the shape from a square to ramp down. Now as you see, when I did that, the animation starts from the middle and that is because the offset value is set on 0. But first let's change the ease high value to 50 and now let's turn on the randomized order and lastly let's change the offset to 100. Good. But also let's apply easings to our keyframes. Now let's press Shift plus F3 to go towards our graph editor. And let's give it a bit influence like this. Alright, now it is time to add a camera for our text in order to add a bit more depth into it. So far we have this animation. So to make it more realistic, I'm going to right click in here and then I'm going to add a camera. Now I'm going to use 2-node camera and the name is fine and the preset should be at 50mm. And in order to control the camera better, we will add a null. So I'm going to right click in an empty space in here and then I'm going to add a null object and I'm going to rename it to camera controller. And I'm going to parent the camera to the null. However, we need to turn our null into 3D. Right now, if I move my null, well, you can see it. So let's change our active camera into custom view 1. So our text is in here, which is a bit far, but I'm going to leave it as it is. So we just need to animate our null towards middle. So I'm going to set the Z value to 2000 and then I'm going to set a keyframe. And then on 5 seconds, I'm going to set it on 0. Now let's go towards the active camera. As you see, it looks much better. However, we need to adjust some easings. It looks much better now. Let's see the difference without the camera. And now with a camera, as you see, there is a small difference. Okay, so far we have this animation. Now in this video, we will add a bit more depth to our background. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add a solid layer by pressing Ctrl+Y on my keyboard. And then in the name section, I'm going to call it grid and fractal noise. So now in this video, we will add these two effects into it. So let's start with grid, and then we are going to add a fractal noise. So the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to change the brightness to 25% in order to make our grid visible. And also the borders are strong, so I'm going to set it on 1. And also let's change its color to black. And let's increase the rectangles by just pulling the corner close to the anchor point. Now let's go towards position value, but also let's make it 3D first. And let's give it a number like 2000. However, I'm going to scale it. So let's press S and let's leave the scale value to 250. So in that way the grid will cover the entire layer. So right now if I play my animation, this is how it looks like. But we can make it better if we set the camera controller Z-axis to a number that we entered on our text, which in this case is 4000. Okay, so we'll need to increase a little bit more. And now we will have this result, which in my opinion is much better, but this is up to you. Okay, now it is time to add a bit more depth to our text. Now the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to press Ctrl+Shift+C to pre-compose our text. And let's call it text VFX. And also I'm going to open this one and I'm going to pre-compose it as well. And then we're going to call it text. So let's add a fractal noise into our text. And also let's change the complexity to 3. And also let's change the noise type to block to change our shape to blocks like this. And also let's add find edges effect into it. And now let's make it invert in order to change the colors. And then I'm going to duplicate this text one more time. However, for the top one, I'm going to remove the find edges effect. Now let's go towards almost 3 seconds and let's change the brightness to 25%. And let's set a keyframe on it, same as opacity. So on 5 seconds, let's set the opacity on 25 and let's set the brightness to 100. Now let's go towards the main comp and see how it looks. Okay, this seems decent, but we can do a small adjustment. So let's just change the brightness from 0 to 25%. Now, I think that looks much better. So as I said earlier, it is up to you how you want to set the numbers. Okay, now in this video, we'll add a particular effect into our animation. So let's press Ctrl plus Y, and this time let's set the color to white, and let's call it particular. And we need to add the CC particular word. We don't need the particular effect from Trapcode, so we just go with the After Effects pre-built particular effect. Now, if I press space, we have, well, this animation. Well, we need to adjust few parameters in order to get what we want. So the first thing we do is that I'm going to change the birth rate to 10. However, after one frame, I'm going to set it on 0. So we don't get any new particular after that. And also we are going to change the longevity to 4 seconds and a half. So they only live up to 4 seconds and a half. Well, as you see, nothing will happen because we changed the birth rate. But if we go towards physics and now we change every parameter to 0, we will have something in here. Now we can go towards the producer tab and we can change the X radius to 0.3. And now let's change the Y value to 0.5. And also let's change the last value to 1. Now we have something, but this is not what we want, right? So let's go towards the particle section and let's change the type from line to a textured square. Now it is up to you what you want for your particle type. Since I choose a textured one, I will have to create a texture for it. Also, let's change the color map to origin constant in order to get colors from our animation. Now if I play, as you see, nothing happens because we changed the particle type. So let's go towards our project panel and let's right click on it and let's create a new composition. Let's change the width to 100, same as the height. And also let's change its name to texture. Now let's go towards our shape tool and select the rectangle tool. And let's change its color to white. And 2 pixel stroke with white color is good. Now let's double click on it to create a shape. And on rectangle path, let's change the roundness a bit. Alright, and now let's duplicate the rectangle by pressing Ctrl plus D. And now let's halve its size by 50%. However, we're gonna add a merge path and then we change it to subtract. As you see, our layer order is not right, so let's adjust it. Okay, now this is good. Now let's bring it to the main. And now on particular effect, I'm going towards my effects control. Now in our texture tab, we're gonna set the texture layer to texture. Alright, now we don't need the layer, so let's just hide it. Okay, now we can make it fun by duplicating the particular effect twice. And then we change the opacity to 25%. And then we're gonna add a fast blur effects into it. And also let's change the value to 8. Now this is going to be something like this, as you see. And now let's just spread them. I don't like all of the textures being in one place, so let's just go towards the extra and let's change the random seed to 1. And also let's make it more visible, so let's change opacity to 75%. Alright, all done. Well, so far we have this animation. Now in this video we will add a few effects in order to add more style to our text. So let's add an adjustment layer first, and let's call it tint, curves and glow. And also let's add these effects, tint, curves and now glow. So let's change the glow radius to 0.5. And also let's change the intensity to 5. But however, let's change the red channel and we're gonna turn it all the way down. And then we will adjust the blue channel. So let's watch. Okay, however, we need to work a little bit more on it. And let's copy the glow effect and paste it on this particular effect. And let's change the threshold to 80 and let's set the radius to 10 and let's also change the intensity to 1. Okay, that looks good. However, let's increase the radius on 50% and let's change intensity. Alright, this is good now. Okay, now in this video we'll animate the blocks inside of our text as well as we'll add a mask into our animation. So let's go towards our text VFX comp. Now let's hold Alt and let's click on evolution property. And now let's add a time expression into it. Alright, and now let's add it for the next one. Okay, now we have an animated block like this. So let's create a solid layer. And let's call it mask. Now let's go towards our ellipse tool and let's double click on it to create a mask. And now let's change the mask mode into subtract. And let's change the mask feather to 250. And now let's select our mask layer and then we go towards the layer and then we press solid settings. And now let's change its color to black. And now let's change its opacity to 50%. Now this step isn't necessary, but we can add an adjustment layer and we can add a forced motion blur effect into it. However, this will increase your render time. Alright, all done.